fans may just be booking their tickets to Bilbao.
Tottenham need to win it without a shadow of doubt, and it would mean a lot to them.
That will save an awful season.
Chance maybe for Saltness. Can he get a shot away? Yes, he can. It deflects, and it finds the far corner. And maybe this semi-final isn't over.
The only negative is obviously conceding that goal.
Puts a different slant on this game now. One moment like that.
We've seen this time and time again where they've been completely on top and then it feels like the attention wanders.
Tough place to go, different surroundings, different pitch.
There is no European football unless we win the Europa League.
They can change the whole season.
A title is always more important than any position in any league.
If you win Europa League, mate, it's an unbelievable season for Tottenham. They are just so desperate to get that first trophy in 17 years. And I do wonder if that desperation might actually work against them.
Anything you achieve in life usually comes with a struggle. I've been fighting my whole career. I'll continue to fight till I'm told to stop.
How will the story end?
Well, how the story is going to end is largely dependent on what happens in this Europa League. And before the game, Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou says Spurs does crazy things to people. Arguably, he is evidence of that, but he was responding to a suggestion from former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger that the winners of the Europa League shouldn't automatically qualify for the Champions League. Spurs are 3-1 up, ahead of their semi-final second leg away at Bodø Glimt this evening, live here on talkSPORT 2, and he's unsure why this debate's cropping up right now.
Well, I mean, that's a debate that's been raging for years, mate. Like, at least the last 8 days. I've never heard that before, so... I've said it before, mate. Spurs does crazy things to people. It does. It does. You put that club into any sentence or any issue, and invariably they all come out and try and diminish as much as they can. Why wasn't it an issue before and it's an issue now? What's the difference? I don't understand what the difference is. The competition. Last year, fifth didn't get you into Champions League. This year it does. What does that mean? There were competition rules, and the rules say the winner goes into... And it's not the first year, and there is an asterisk against it that you have to do something else as well. But it's Spurs, mate. They love it. They love it. Oh, they love it. You love it. Well, you know, I don't want to go down that road because I've got a great respect for Arsene. He's one of the legends of the game. But it does crazy things to people, mate. I love it. I love it. Bring it on.
Spurs does crazy things to people, like... fans travelling away to Norway to sit in a 9,000-seater stadium, one of 404, I hear. Delighted to welcome in Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat Pod, who is out in Bodø. How are you, Chris?
Hello, Max. Very well. Thanks so much for having me on. You wouldn't believe, actually, where I'm doing this interview from.
Go on, tell us.
There is a training pitch right next to the stadium, and I'm sat in the dugout doing this interview with you.
That is absolutely brilliant. Can you set a little bit of the scene other than where you are? What's it like out there? Is it freezing? Is it sort of light at 1 o'clock in the morning? You know, what's the stadium like? Tell us a little bit about where you are, other than the dugout of the training pitch.
Yeah, well, it's a very, very small place. The population here is only 42,000. And to put it into perspective, where the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium holds 62,850, so it's a very, very small ground. There are actually bigger stadiums in England, such as York City, Exeter, Raith, Leyton Orient, Grimsby. They've got a double capacity to this place, but it's very, very small. And to answer your question, when I arrived yesterday, walked from the airport and literally walked past the stadium to get into the main town centre, to the hotel. And it was very light, even at 11 p.m. You know, the photographs and the videos that I took, you'd probably think that I'd taken them, early afternoon, so it's very light. It was 4 degrees this morning. It's 8 degrees now, but when the game kicks off, it'll be 7 degrees. So it's not actually that bad, but it's a very, very quiet place. The people are extremely friendly. But I can tell you now that every single fan I've spoke to, they are extremely confident about this game. I went on a hike earlier up the mountains and I bumped into one fan, and he actually said, we have the advantage over you. And I said, well, we're 3-1 up from the first leg. And he said, we're playing on a plastic pitch and you're not going to like it.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, are you worried about the plastic pitch? Because, I've played on a couple before, and I'm not an elite sportsman, far from it, but I've never massively noticed the difference, but a lot is being made of it from, managers and whenever it comes up. Are you concerned about that? And are you concerned about sort of injuries? Because there's been some sort of research and studies to suggest more injuries can happen on artificial pitches if they're not sort of good enough. So is that something you're worried about?
Oh, Max, the amount of injuries that we've had at this football club this season is just simply incredible. We can't have any more injuries, but their win rate at home in European competitions, 70%. They play extremely well at home, and that is why their fans are extremely confident about this game this evening. And interestingly, last week at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, when we were 3-0 up, everyone was absolutely buzzing. And then we conceded that goal, and the mood went down a level. And, when the players were coming off the pitch, the Bodø players were seeming happier than the Spurs players. The fact like they hadn't conceded too many for them to get the job done. But, this is such a huge opportunity for the football club. We have had such a poor season in the Premier League. And, to finish it off this season with a trophy and win the Europa League would just be a dream come true because, as we all know, as you guys on talkSPORT talk about day in, day out, the trophies are way, way overdue at Spurs. 17 years without one. We haven't won a European trophy since '84. And, of course, always says that he puts a trophy in the cabinet in his second season. I would love to see him deliver it.
Yeah, I mean, on that idea of sort of Spurs' season, look, it has been a terrible season. And, I don't need to teach you how to suck eggs, etc. But, I mean, what about this discussion around if Spurs win the Europa League, they've had a better season than Arsenal, who obviously can't win a trophy and might end up finishing third despite being in second all season. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's an argument there. People talk about Spurs in European competition. It's hard to win trophies. I think if you spoke to, any Arsenal fan, they'll tell you how hard it is to win European trophies because they just simply don't do it and they fail year in, year out, which, of course, they did last night. But, I'm not here to talk about Arsenal. I'm here to talk about Spurs. And, of course, I want my team to do well. But if we put a trophy in the cabinet, Spurs could have had such a bad league season. Yes, Arsenal could finish second, third or fourth. But if we put a trophy in the cabinet, I think without question or doubt that we've had a better season.
So other than the sort of nerves that late Bodø Glimt goal sort of gave to maybe fans and some of the players, presuming you get to the final, and I don't believe in jinxing anything, but presuming you do, how do you feel about United? Because your record's been pretty good against them this season.
It has, and a lot of Spurs fans are worried about that. Of course, we've played them 3 times this season. We've won every single one, but of course, the game that matters the most, of course, we want to win that. But of course, we've got to, without sounding like a manager, sit on the fence here. We've got this game to play first. We win this one. If we do face Manchester United in Bilbao, it would just be, a hell of a journey. And, I'm sure it'd be a great game. And I'm sure that Spurs will go on to win the Europa League. But like I always say, day in, day out, certainly on my podcast, that, these players, they've got such a huge opportunity to be heroes.
Yeah.
We haven't had a trophy for so long, and they've got to give absolutely everything. It's a big loss without Bergvall and Maddison, who are now out for the remainder of the season. And Son, of course, hasn't travelled, so we are lacking in creativity for the season, but we've got to get the job done. And Postecoglou has got to get the job done. These players have to deliver, and hopefully it will be a great night. And ironically, 6 years ago today, we had that special night in Amsterdam going through to the Champions League final, and 6 years later, we've got the chance to go into the Europa League final.
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredibly exciting for you, particularly because sort of how disappointing this season's been, and to win something and get yourself into a final would just sort of give you that reprieve that I'm sure you feel like you deserve as fans who go week in, week out paying your money, and it's been how it has been. But with Maddison out, with Bergvall out, they're 2 players that can, they've got that ability to do something special, to play that cutting pass, to, particularly with Maddison, get an important goal. We saw him score in the first leg. Who are you looking to in the Spurs squad to pull something out the bag, whether it's in this semi-final or in the final, should you get there?
I think we've got to be looking at Dejan Kulusevski. He's had such a good season. Of course, he spent a little bit of time out injured as well, but players like Tell, it's not a given that he's going to be a Spurs player next season. He's still on loan from Bayern Munich, so he's got to deliver as well. You've got Dominic Solanke up front, who we know that can score goals, but you've got to have that supply. But as I say, every single player, no matter what lineup Ange Postecoglou puts out, every single player needs to deliver. So it's going to be an interesting game, but I think that we will have enough tonight to get the job done.
Ange Postecoglou, he brings home, as he promised all along, that second season trophy. You've won the Europa League.
I always win things in my second year.
Does he stay or does he go?
Matt, I'll tell you what, I could talk to you about this for hours. I've got lots of pros, I've got lots of cons about it.
Have you got a list? Have you got a list with pros and cons on either side?
I haven't, but I know, because we record podcasts on this and we literally talk for hours about it. Some people say if he delivers a trophy, a statue needs to be put outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And, most fans, which is a shame, I feel, most fans, they've lost the faith in Ange Postecoglou, and most fans would say now that they want the manager gone, which is absolutely crazy, because when back in 1984 Keith Birkinshaw delivered the UEFA Cup, he ended up going at the end of that season. Liverpool won the league, and of course Liverpool won the league this season. Could Ange Postecoglou deliver a trophy and say, there you are, see you later? It could happen.
But you think that you'd want him to stay if he won it?
I am very worried about how we approach league games. So I can't see how we can sustain that in being in the league position where we are. I feel like in cup competitions, I feel like we play a completely different way. We have been a completely different team in the Europa League. You take those performances against Frankfurt, both at home and away, they are completely different in the Premier League. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries, but we cannot play the way that we do in Premier League games. So I think I'm ultimately saying that we probably do need to change the manager in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense to me, and I think it's a really reasonable argument. But like you mentioned, it'd still be a strange turn of events should Ange Postecoglou win a European trophy with Spurs and then have to leave. But equally, it's a strange world we live in. And I think it's a really interesting point. I'd never thought of it that way, about the way you play in cup games compared to the league, and how maybe it's not sort of conducive to a successful league season. But fascinating stuff. Now, before you go, Chris, I've got to ask, obviously there's 404 Spurs fans allowed in the stadium. It's going to be interesting to see sort of you lot who I've been a couple of times to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you lot who are used to the best stadium in Europe sat in a shed like that. But are there many other sort of Spurs fans just sort of travelling for the crack?
Yeah, on my plane last night there were a number of people asking people for tickets, so there are a number of people that have travelled. It does seem a lot quieter, I must say, than usual European aways. Because 404 tickets, that's not a lot at all. But the away end will be absolutely buzzing tonight, and the club have given free scarves on every seat today inside the away end. So I'm sure they'll be absolutely buzzing and singing their hearts out for us getting into the final.
Absolutely. Chris, absolutely fantastic stuff there, mate. And I hope you go well tonight.
Thank you so much.
No worries. That's Chris Cowlin live from the Bodø Glimt training ground dugout. Absolute legend. And of course, it's going to be exciting to hear. It's going to be exciting to listen to that live on talkSPORT 2. And remember, Chris just telling us there that the Bodø Glimt fans are absolutely convinced that they're going to win. I think Chris said they've got a 70% win rate at home. So that's certainly given you a reason to tune in to talkSPORT 2 this evening if you already thought it was a write-off, because we know Spurs can sometimes be a little bit Spursy. Right, you're listening to The Social on talkSPORT 2. Next up, Twitter Corner. Simple question.